and welcome to Hannity. All right, here we are, only 21 days from the all-important midterm elections. That means 3 weeks from tonight, it will be election night in America, and Republicans, they are trending, hopefully, in the right direction. Coming up, Utah Senator Mike Lee will be here with the very latest from his race against the very liberal, we call him Egg McMuffin, who is completely bought and paid for, which we will show you tonight, by the Democratic Party, although he's not running as a Democrat. It is all a ruse. Also, Senator Ron Johnson will be here, and tonight we have big breaking news surrounding the Biden family's shady international business deals, including a massive interest-free forgivable loan from China and a $100,000 big investment from a Russian oligarch, former First Lady of Moscow, that up until now people have not talked about. We'll check in with John Solomon. He has all the details for us tonight. Plus, the corrupt, now fired FBI agent Peter Strzok wants you to believe, you know, smelly Walmart shoppers and Trump supporters that you are, that January 6th was so much worse than 9/11. OK, we'll set him straight as we continue tonight. But we begin tonight at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where the White House is waging a fraudulent and dishonest political strategy, complete with collusion in plain sight. Now, we already know, according to reports, that after Joe Biden called Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, MBS, a murderer of Jamal Khashoggi and his nation a pariah nation, Joe then flies to Saudi Arabia because he won't have domestic energy production here. He begged MBS in the pariah nation itself to increase oil production. Joe was humiliated and not only told there would not be an increase in production, but a $2 million per day decrease in output. Then Joe, we now find out, he tried to collude with Saudi Arabia and OPEC Plus to delay OPEC's oil reduction announcement. How conveniently, until after the midterm elections. And then the Saudis disclosed this duplicity. Now, then after that attempt, a collusion failed. MBS laughed in his face, and Biden circled back to one of his old favorite political stunts. Now, for the past several months, Joe Biden has put our country at risk by almost completely draining our strategic petroleum reserves, which is now at a 4-decade low, almost half of what he inherited. Donald Trump built it up, and he's siphoning it away. Now it's about to get even worse because Biden is now poised to release yet another 10 to 15 million barrels of oil. But don't forget, the strategic reserve is intended for national emergencies only. Democrats polling badly before the midterms, that is not a national emergency. Joe is now literally compromising our national security to temporarily lower the price at the pump for 3 weeks, but the White House simply doesn't care. They're so upset that their plan to collude with Saudi Arabia, OPEC Plus nations, didn't work. Just keep it quiet till after the midterms. Now, imagine if Donald Trump did that. Anyway, they're not interested in improving your life or securing our country or having lower gas prices or lowering the price of every item you buy at every store you go to. I mean, they have no interest in solving these problems. They only have a short-term strategy to reduce the energy costs only because they want to get through the midterms. For Team Biden, it's all about optics. It's not about real solutions. Here is yet another example reported by the New York Post. Quote, the White House pressured the Democratic mayor of El Paso, Texas, to not declare a state of emergency over the city's illegal immigrant crisis due to fear it would make President Biden look bad. Look bad? OK, they were taking in almost 2,000 people, illegal immigrants, a day. The border is bad. It's an unmitigated disaster. You don't need to graduate from Harvard and MIT to figure that out. Only a fool would ever try to cover it up weeks before an election instead of actually addressing the crisis that their policies caused. But again, the Biden administration, they only care about political optics 3 weeks out of an election. They don't care about the quality of your life. They just want a cheap political win, and they don't want to get in trouble just before the election, and they'll take it anyway, anyhow they can get it. The president himself doesn't really seem to know what's going on. Over the weekend, he referred to the economy. It was strong as hell as he ate his ice cream cone. Take a look.
Are you concerned about the strength of the dollar right now?
I'm not concerned about the strength of the dollar. I'm concerned about the rest of the world. Does that make sense?
Can you explain that?
Yes. Our economy is strong as hell. The internals are.
Aw, Joey must have been a good boy that day because he got ice cream. Anyway, 41-year high of inflation. Sorry. Turkey prices are now 73% higher. I'm not laughing about that. Sadly, just in time for Thanksgiving. By the way, if you've never fried a turkey, you might want to get a Butterball turkey fryer. They are amazing. Anyway, meanwhile, gas prices, look, they're approaching another record high, continuing to climb as we speak. Interest rates now have more than doubled. The housing market, it is in a full-out crash. The stock market has already plummeted. Retirement accounts, 401ks, other investments, they are taking a beating. According to Stephen Moore, fully 25% of your investment retirement portfolio has been wiped away. It's the single worst year for the stock and bond market investors since 1969. And unfortunately, supply chain issues persist. While you're at it, violent crime is through the roof in small towns and big cities all across the country, especially in blue cities, in blue towns run by Democrats for decades, the ones that want to defund, dismantle, and buy into this no-bail madness. And by the way, as you know, your border is a nightmare. But according to Nancy Pelosi, none of this matters to Americans. Let's see if Nancy's right. You decide.
So let's talk about rising inflation concerns along with crime, giving momentum, new momentum to Republicans after the Democrats were closing the gap. Why do you think the president has gotten this message through to the voters?
Well, first of all, let me say that I think that much of what you've said I don't agree with. That is to say, the New York Times poll, I think, is an outlier poll. You just cite one poll, but all the other polls.
It's also the Real Clear
different
Politics average is showing similar issues.
No, but that was one that brought down the average, and it was an outlier. It wasn't even that big a sample. So I dismiss that.
I dismiss your miserable lives, your high gas prices, your inflation, crime in big cities, small towns. I'll just dismiss it. After a lucrative 5 decades in the swamp, Nancy Pelosi is clearly not in touch with reality. She's getting pretty close to Joe Biden territory. However, the 82-year-old speaker is slightly more lucid than her comrade at the White House. For example, here is Joe Biden spelling out the dot in a web address, such as .com. Look for yourself.
If you get any questionable calls, please tell us by going to report fraud, dotftc.gov.
This is really embarrassing. It's hard to take, and it gets worse. Today, Joe sounded very dazed and confused and disjointed as he slurred his way through a short speech. Take a look.
As they say in one of the towns, they ain't seen nothing yet. The right that I pushed hard and it finally got changed, the married couples in the privacy of their bedroom, I'm thinking about the Dobbs decision. Imagine, well, I'll get to that in a second with Clarence Thomas. Meanwhile, and I just want to make clear, I know you all know, but I'll make sure they're talking about the right to use contraception and the right to marry who you love. I mean, anyway. I don't want to get started. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry. 2 words. Made in America. Okay. A 3-letter word. Jobs. Jobs. Okay. Now even fake news CNN is reporting that Biden has spent more than a fourth of his presidency on vacation in Delaware, far outpacing any president before him. By the way, I don't take half the vacation I'm entitled to on any given year. I must be an idiot. Anyway, Joe Biden is clearly not up to the job. I know it, you know it, the Democrats know it, and you better believe Jill Biden knows it. Get this report today following one of Biden's only scheduled press conferences. Dr. Jill Biden was reportedly so mad and outraged that White House staffers even allowed Joe to answer that many questions. According to the New York Times, the First Lady stormed into a post-press conference meeting, pointedly asked why nobody stepped in to stop it, because she could see the train wreck we were all seeing. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence, does it? And it does beg the question, who is running the country? Because it's certainly not Joe Biden. It's definitely not Kamala Harris. And God help us if it's Nancy Pelosi. It probably is AOC. Now, or a cabal of woke green, new Green Deal socialists who think that they are living in an episode of the West Wing. And in 21 days, 3 weeks from tonight, if Democrats hold on to their majorities in the House and the Senate, no one will be held accountable. and America's problems will get worse and worse and worse. If you think the economy is bad now, buckle up. Because with Democrats in charge, it will implode. It can get worse. It will get worse. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.